couple days ago, I open up the Barstool app, and all of a sudden I see a familiar name pop up. Featured blog, top of the page, #1 slot. Asa Akira from the fucking clouds putting up a blog on Barstool about the state of the porn industry. Did you see our newsletter today? You're our featured blog. I mean, you're making waves, girl. So it was like the return of Asa, like Jordan coming back. It was special. So Asa now joins the Kevin Clancy show. How are you, girl?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course. I wanted to so I did this rebrand and I'm launching this show, and I basically called in all the favors I've got and talked to all the people from my past that I thought would be like a heavy hitter lineup to launch this thing the right way. And you're one of the first names that came to mind.
I know. And I feel so honored. I mean, I know, like, you know, because I've also been doing an interview show, and there are so many people that I'm like, they'd make a great 5-minute clip, but like not an hour-long interview. So I feel so honored that you like chose me for this.
That's one of the things I feel like you are great at is like the deep dive conversations. I mean, we go way back. If people, I guess what's crazy is Barstool has grown so much recently that there's probably entire swaths of fans who have like no idea that you were on my show for a while and worked at Barstool for a bit. And like, I mean, also I got to tell the story. I reached out to you like a couple weeks ago and told you this. I randomly was going back and listening to episodes of your podcast, the Pornhub podcast, and I just was like kind of like closing my eyes and picking an episode. And I'm listening to one, and all of a sudden you start chronicling your history with Barstool and saying how like it was tough for you because there were problems with advertisers and we had to keep you out of certain advertising initiatives and how it like hurt you and you were upset. And I was listening to this and I was not expecting it at all. And I was like, oh my God, fuck. So I like immediately reached out and I told you that like you are one of the more important people to ever come into my life and my career, because I feel like if it wasn't for you, like there was such a big shakeup going on at Barstool, and Dan left KFC Radio and we were kind of like in the wind, and it was the way that show was going to be is like, okay, it used to have Dan and now it doesn't. So it's just going to be a lesser version. And then we hired you and you slid in and made it something different. And really like, I mean, we shot up the charts. We got more downloads than ever. And it kind of bridged the gap to allow me to like keep doing what I do. So I'll forever be grateful for you joining up.
Oh.
I mean,
no, I mean, also like I want to like make a point here that, you know, in that, so I think it was the Holly Randall episode that you're talking about that I kind of like really got into it about how, you know, it's really hard for like porn stars to find work outside of porn. And not that I'm trying to leave porn, and not that I was trying, you know, when I joined with Barstool, but like I was just trying to like really highlight that point. But overall, like I think of my time at Barstool like really fondly. Like I had a great time working with you and Fights and like everyone there, you know, Glenny, everyone. And you know, but yeah, like there was, especially towards the end there, I think when like, you know, Dave and Erica started figuring out that there were a lot of things that advertisers did not want me to be a part of, like certain very specific campaigns. I won't even like name which ones, but there were a lot of very like, you know, quote unquote mainstream companies that it was just known that like everyone in the company would be involved except for me.
Shitty. Yeah, we would be doing like a draft or whatever, and it was like all of our big personalities, and you were one of them that people loved, and it was like, oh, and Asa's just not here. Suspicious.
Yeah, like, and it you know, I completely understand. Like, there's no part of me that takes that personally, like at all. If anything, I'm so grateful to Barstool for even like taking the chance. Like, what other company is gonna hire on a porn star full-time as a porn star too? Right. Like, not like trying to hide their past or anything like that, but really like highlighting the fact that they're, you know, coming from the porn industry. So I'm really, really grateful. And I think it's a real testament to Barstool that like you guys even did that at all.
Well, what's something to think about is it, like thinking where the industry has gone now. I bet you if it happened today, it would be a lot less of an issue. I think what sucks is looking at where everything has gone now. I think you would fit in much better. I don't think there would be as many restrictions or she can't do this or as much stigma.
Yes and no. I think Pornhub, or not Pornhub, but porn is always like moving toward the mainstream. I think Pornhub is a big part of that. I think like Pornhub at this point is such a mainstream brand.
Yeah.
And me being such a big part of that has been like, I do think, yeah, I get what you're saying, but also like, I mean, you know what's going on like recently, like it's, the war on porn is like also always going strong, and there's always, I feel like the general public is still very unaccepting.
Well, I think there's two things going on that are like opposite, which is weird because I think on the one hand, as you're experiencing here, there's like these evangelicals who are like launching a war and everything going on with the money and the credit cards and like a very targeted and unfortunately so far like effective war. But then on the other side, you have like the OnlyFans revolution. You have a podcast like Call Her Daddy at the top of the charts. More than ever, girls are like, yeah, we fuck, we suck dick, we like to be choked, we like letting it all out. So, and it's weird that both of those are occurring at the same time because you feel like as one goes up, the other would go down. But like from my point of view, looking at when we signed you up for the podcast, as great as it was, there was also some pushback of people being like, I don't want to hear about sex all the time. Why do I have to hear this porn star? But then when Alex Cooper does it with Call Her Daddy, I think because she's quote unquote normal or not professional, whatever, that it like kind of hits different and perceived differently. But I wonder now, because that has gone on and that trail has been blazed a little bit, if there would be more of a fit or an acceptance. And I also think it was different that you joined a current show. As much as you and I have chemistry, I think if it was like you had your own podcast versus like there were fans of a show that already existed that wanted it a certain way, and then you join and it becomes different, that maybe, you know what I mean? So maybe had it just been like your show and now versus then, I just wonder. I mean, you know, maybe not all that different, but I wonder if it would just be, even if just a little bit more accepting would have made all the difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the hope. Like the hope is that we're always progressing in that direction. And like, you know, I think shows like Call Her Daddy do help, you know. I think it's like I think anything to do with sexuality that's like moving it in a direction that's like normalizing it, I think is good. Like no matter what, you know what I mean? Like,
that's why I think you're so important. I think you are the most important porn star to ever live.
No, stop.
I do. I swear to God, I do. Because for like two major reasons. Number one, luckily, so you don't come from like a passive trauma or the cliche of like I was abused and daddy issues and all that shit. And that's big because it's just like I just like to fuck and I get paid for it. And like people are like, whoa. And number two, you're very smart. You're very like articulate, and you can like, I don't think I've ever had as much chemistry with maybe anybody that I did with you on the mic, where it's like, you know, I still find myself to this day, we'll talk about it in a little bit. I pop on a documentary and one of the first thoughts going through my head is like, I got to find out what Asa says about this, you know? And like, you know, to be honest, I'm sure there's more porn stars like you out there, but the general cliche and the stereotype is not that, you know. It's not that you want to hear their thoughts on society and philosophy and conspiracies. But so when you were able to kind of show that, and it's like, yeah, so I'm not like a freak, I'm not like some, you know, crazy person with issues, and I am just like normal and can talk, and I'm interesting and intriguing. It's just like, yeah, but she also has sex for money. It's not, you know, it's not that crazy.
Yeah, you know, and like with social media and stuff like that, I think we're seeing so many more porn stars like that. I think, you know, before, like in the days before that, like the internet, I think, you know, porn stars were these like, it's again, like on one hand, these like untouchable beings, but on the other hand, these like social pariahs, right? Like it's, they were just like not normal people. Like if you're in porn, you're a fucked up person, but also like completely like untouchable and idolized.